Anti-choice Republicans are adding insult to injury to women harmed by draconian abortion bans. So in several red states, Republican attorneys general have been defending their states against lawsuits from women who have been denied emergency abortions and ended up suffering unnecessary physical and emotional harm due to those laws. For example, in Tennessee, AG Jonathan Skermetti has been fighting a lawsuit filed by a group of Tennessee women denied emergency abortions under the narrow medical exception to the state's ban. The plaintiffs suffered issues like sepsis, hemorrhaging, because they were not able to terminate those pregnancies. He responded to them by accusing them of attempting to, quote, draw lines about which unborn lives are worth protecting by imposing a medical exception of their own liking. Now, wait a minute. Hold on there. A lot of these, again, pregnancies ended up being non-viable. So what is he talking about? Now, he also mocked them for claiming that minor conditions like sickle cell disease could justify an abortion, and insisted that the lead plaintiff, Nicole Blackman, lacked standing because she underwent sterilization after the state had forced her to carry a non-viable pregnancy and deliver a stillborn baby. So, again, that could have been avoided had she got the emergency abortion, because that child was not going to survive. No. We're going to make you do it anyway, just because we can. He suggested then that if she really wanted to challenge the ban, she should have went out and got pregnant again in another high-risk pregnancy. Jesus Christ, these people. They just have absolutely zero empathy whatsoever. Then we go to Texas, where, of course, you have Attorney General Ken Paxton, who was fending off a similar lawsuit. Now, the lead plaintiff in that case, Amanda Zarowski, was denied an abortion for 3 days after her water broke in the second trimester, leading her to develop sepsis, which nearly killed her. The result is, of course, she may end up not being able to ever get pregnant again as a result of not being able to get that emergency abortion. Left her infertile. Now, how did Paxton respond to this? He says that she no longer has standing because she may not be fertile, but that's a direct result of the state's abortion ban. He did that. He went there. His law, their law in Texas, made it so that she's infertile and says, well, now you lack standing. Ha ha. Ghouls, absolute ghouls. And by the way, when that case went to trial, you had Texas lawyers out there asking questions like this. Did Attorney General Ken Paxton tell you couldn't get an abortion? Effectively, that's what the law was. That's in addition to, of course, asking them very invasive details about what happened with their failed pregnancies, to which one plaintiff ended up literally getting sick to her stomach in the stand after having to recount that story. I mean, just horrifying. But it gets worse, by the way. During a hearing over this case, Beth Klusman, Texas Attorney General's office, decided to place the blame not on the state, but on the doctors. She said, if a woman is bleeding, if she has amniotic fluid running down her legs, then the problem is not with the law. It's with the doctors. No, it's clearly a problem with the law. Doctors should be worrying about how to best treat their patients, right? How to best serve them. Not worrying about if they're going to be sued, have their license revoked, or being put in prison for doing an emergency procedure that will save a woman's life. But that's what's going on. It's been going on all over the country since the end of Roe. Kate Cox, for example, had this exact situation happen to her. She asked for an emergency abortion. Her doctor, who, again, supported this, said that's the right medical decision, but said, I can't do this. I can't legally do this under Texas law because they could throw me in prison for 99 years. So now that same doctor ended up suing the state in order to allow Kate Cox to be able to get that abortion. Turns out, though, they lost in the courts. She ended up having to flee the state to go and get a life-saving abortion, but not before Paxton and others called her essentially everything in the book you're a liar, you're selfish, you're a bad mother, you're a baby murderer. All over a non-viable fetus. Never going to survive. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them because for them, it's not about life. It's about control. It's about using the law to control women's bodies. It's also about using shame to control women's bodies. I mean, to them, if you miscarry, it's automatically your fault. You did something wrong. You're a bad person. Your immorality caused your body to do this. If you need an emergency abortion because something went wrong, that's your fault, according to them. Look, of course, in the real world, in reality, where everyone else lives, miscarriages and medical issues do happen without any fault of the mother. Sometimes you just have an issue. But that brings me to the point, right? Blaming the mother, for them, allows them to take what they consider to be a principled stance without actually having to take a principled stance or even a factual stance. See, to them, it's a black and white issue. Very simple, very rooted in their warped view of morality, right? If you're good and you're moral and you're godly, well, then your pregnancy is going to be fine because you did everything right, because you were moral. But if you're bad and immoral, then you're being punished by God, by these problems. And they're automatically your fault and you deserve what you get, even if that means you die. That's their worldview. Now, of course, this view is unfortunately shared by too many people. And I think that's contributed to the increase in maternal mortality rates in the United States. We have the highest maternal mortality rate of all wealthy developed countries in the world, okay? And a lot of it comes down to this idea of morality. For example, do you know which demographic has the highest amount of maternal mortality in the country? Black women. Now, what do these people, what does the right constantly say about black people? That they're immoral. Where are the fathers? Something wrong with their culture. They're the welfare queens, don't you know? And look, even in the medical industry, there's a lot of overt and implicit bias by healthcare providers, leading them to ignore symptoms and request for help simply because of the color of their skin. Oh, they're black. They're just complaining. They just want drugs. No, they're not. There's also a lack of healthcare for pregnant women who can't afford it. Once again, disproportionately affecting minorities. And of course, you have chronic health conditions like high blood pressure, hypertension, that can lead to pregnancy issues like preeclampsia, which raises the risk of a deadly stroke among women who just gave birth. There's also mental health issues. There's the issue of suicide, postpartum depression. These things could be vastly reduced if we had a healthcare system that wasn't based on profit, okay? And that doesn't punish people with lack of care just because they're poor. And they can't afford the prenatal care. They can afford to go to doctors and get these other pre-existing issues managed so they can have healthy pregnancies. And when it comes to poor people, though, again, getting back to the issue of how the right sees morality, they see poor people as undeserving of healthcare because if you're poor, it's because you made bad decisions. You're a failure. You're immoral. You didn't do the right thing. And so you don't deserve any help because you brought everything on yourself for being a bad person. Get right with God. Get a job. That kind of stuff. Because you're a bad person. You don't deserve health care. You don't deserve shelter. You don't deserve food. You messed up. Your fault. So whatever happens to your pregnancy, your fault. Be a moral person. Be a better person. That's how they view it, okay? It's not surprising to me at all that you have right-wing attorneys general out here mocking and attacking and assaulting women who have suffered the loss of their fertility, along with the loss of their child, and nearly losing their lives as a result of these horrible draconian laws. Look, at the end of the day, they don't care about women, okay? They don't care about life. Pro-life, my ass, all right? No, what they care about is control. and to try to feel superior, because they got to feel morally superior, while effectively, through their policies, ordering some of these women to their deaths.